Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And I told them my birthday was on Arbor Day to hide it from the birthday thieves. But do me a favor and hit that like button or they'll steal your birthday. And for the last week, we've been carrying the Tarcus. So let's take a look at what we're holding because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So, first things first and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We have got the carbon fiber and G10 scales on this. We have got a non-reversible pocket clip. We got a thumb hole and we got an axis lock, so let's flick the hole. We have got 3.5 inches of D2 steel. We've got an 8-inch overall length and 2.68 ounces on the weight. So, let's get this out of the way. TacRay reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in checking out the Tarcus and doing a review on it. I took a look at this on Amazon and said yes, right away. All right, for me personally, this thing looks cool as hell. Like, I saw that and I'm like, yes, I have to have that. I would have paid out of pocket for this thing. It's like $34.99 on Amazon. And I'm going to tell you, I'm blown away by this thing. Like, I am so thoroughly impressed. Jesus H. Zombies. This thing is good. So, I did my carry for the week like we do, so I've got a list of the things I noticed and experienced in no particular order. Number one, this thing's got a full flat grind. All right, it's got a full flat grind on it, and it slices. All right, this thing cuts like a bucket of hot damn. I fed it the plastic on the pallets, and there was no resistance. We even did some of the, if you're new here, and I know a lot of y'all have heard it a million times, but one of the metrics I use for testing the edge quality is cutting the plastic wrap on the pallets. That saran wrap, if you go through the middle where there's a bunch of layers, a decent edge will cut through it with no problems. You get down to the bottom of it where there's that one layer at the bottom. If you've got a decent edge, it'll still hang up and tear a little bit. If you've got a great edge, it'll blast through it like you're slicing water. This thing blasted right through it, and even going sideways on it, where it's the hardest cut you can make on it, and there wasn't much there wasn't much tension on it. It still went through it more than easily enough. So, the edge quality and the slicing profile on this, my God, it was good. It's something else. It gave me pause, but the ergonomics, especially sitting there fidgeting with it, testing them out. Right here, if you can see it, the gap between the scales is actually quite small. This is a thin blade. This is some thin blade stock. So that was actually pretty decent. The edges on here on the inside of these scales is not chamfered. There's that $5 word again. They're not chamfered, which does give me some pause for Cardboard Slayer later. But this gap is a lot narrower than a lot of other knives we have tested, so that may actually work out pretty good. There's not a lot of room for the callus right here to get down in it and get wedged, so that makes me very happy. Just sitting here, playing with it, fidgeting with it, it feels really good in the hand. Like, no complaints there whatsoever, at least not for day-to-day use. Like I said, Cardboard Slayer might be a different beast. We're going to find out about that. We're going to see what's what. This thing do be centrifugal opening. It do be centrifugal opening. That being said, it's a little bit funky. It's really hard to slam it open hard and do that open with authority that at least makes me feel really happy. I love my centrifugal openers. If you grip it just right and you get the swing just right, it will swing open. It'll snap open with authority, but it's a little funky. It's kind of hard to get that just right, and it's not weighted for centrifugal opening. It's not weighted for that, it's not intended for that, but it's still doable if you grip it in the right spot. Like the center of balance on this isn't the same as a lot of others. You got to be up here a little bit instead of towards the back like a lot of other knives. A lot of knives you can grip it back here. That's where it's happy and wants the centrifugal. This is a little bit farther up, but it still works. It works just fine. So I love a centrifugal open. I'm happy to see that. That's how I opened it 99 times out of 100 while I was walking around with it. We got the usual key brass deposited on the blade, and it wiped off no problem. We had some more back here. Like, we have more back here, and while sitting there fidgeting with it, typing up the script for this thing and everything else, it rubbed right off. Like, this thing is easy to clean off. Like, it is so easy to clean. That key gunk, a lot of blades I've had, it really adheres to it. It's hard to clean off, and then getting into the scales, there are areas where it just won't come out. There'll be just a little dark spot where that key gunk was, but this thing, nah, cleaned right up, easy as pie. So the next thing to move on to is the action on this thing. The action on this feels really good. It is very smooth. You can't feel the bearings. You can't feel the bearings rubbing. Like a lot of knives, you kind of feel that crunchiness and the vibration while you're opening and closing it, where the bearings are just not 100% tuned up. This thing, it is tuned up really well. That action feels super, super clean. It feels very, very nice. This is one of the smoothest I have had so far in my hands in the length of time I've been doing this channel. Like I can tell there's bearings looking down through here and getting some light on it, but this feels about as smooth and quiet and easy as well-tuned bronze washers. The quality of this action is right up there with, say, the Kaiser Drop Bear. That is some high praise. I love the action on the Drop Bear. As a matter of fact, I'm working with someone that wanted to check something out to see what I feel like is one of the best actions on the I've had. I sent them the Drop Bear. I sent them the Drop Bear because, like, if they make their knife the way I want them to, with my design cues and my wish list, it's like, let's do an axis lock. Here's the kind of action I want on this. So very, very high praise for the action. The next thing is you can kind of tell here, the axis lock, those studs, they're not quite the same studs as everything else. They're a bit of an interesting design, but they are a bit proud of the scales. They do sit a bit proud of the scales. Focus. They sit a bit proud of the scales. There we go. I've seen a couple of guys that didn't like it that much, but honestly, I like this quite a bit. This thing, it's wider. It's wider here at the dingus end of the clip, which makes it easier and more comfortable to pull back on. There's a reasonably strong pull on the Omega springs, but it's nothing overwhelming. It feels really good on that. I like these thumb studs and the way they're set up. That's just me. I really, really like them. I guess the next thing with the carry experience was it wound up being a bit of a pain to get stuff out of the pocket around it. You look at the bottom right here and you've got a nice flat shelf that stuff can get caught on coming out of your pocket. That was very, very noticeable. It did make it difficult to get stuff out, but it wasn't that much worse than a lot of other knives I've carried, which, having it in the pocket with keys, other stuff, any knife in the pocket's going to make it harder to get in there and pull stuff out, and this was no exception, just a little bit worse than a lot of others I carried, and that's just this flat spot on the bottom makes a really nice shelf for things to get caught on. Not a deal breaker, not the end of the world, but very, very noticeable. The next thing to mention, the next thing that I noticed was the blade play. There is zero blade play in this whatsoever. I haven't tightened the pivot screw. I haven't touched anything. I haven't tuned anything. Right out of the box, right out of the gate, the action is just, it's a very, very nice action, very smooth, clean action, but there is zero blade play. And I slammed this thing open and closed a bunch of times sitting here fidgeting with it, trying to figure out where the balance point for the axis lock was, all that. And I've had other knives loosen up when I'm doing that. This had no trace of blade play come into this thing. It really didn't. And, I had to use the dingus into the tip right here. That thing, I had shelf tags to pull off the rail that were adhered down from just needing to be cleaned. The dedicated tag puller that we had could not get under the tags. This thing got under them and popped them out nice. Like, that made the experience there so much better. The tip on this thing is so, so good. That is a very, very pointy, pokey tip. It did great for that. I was so glad I had this on me. And the pocket clip, the dingus end of the pocket clip here made it very easy to get it over the hem of a pocket, into and back out of the pocket. That was a very smooth experience. It was smooth putting it in there even when I was sitting down. And if you've ever tried to put a knife in your front pocket while you're sitting down, that can be a royal headache, but this thing gave me no issues whatsoever. That was a very, very pleasant surprise. So, I mean, that's generally the list of things I experienced that I noticed. Very, very, very good experience overall. This is one of just this thing is great. Let's take a look at our edge. I know we pulled a really good number whenever we did the last video on it before I carried it, but let's see where it's at. I fed it a little bit of cardboard to see how it slices, but most of my work was with the tip and doing stuff like pulling shelf tags, so it hasn't seen a ton of use. And I don't go out of my way to abuse these while I carry them, because we're going to do Cardboard Slayer and see how this stuff does. We're going to do Cardboard Slayer, we're going to see how the edge holds up, and I do want to start off in the best place we can. So, let's get in here. Man, that is still... Oh, God, did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? Come on, get on there. Get on there. Like, that was no effort whatsoever. God, this edge is nice. This edge is nice, you guys. So we're going to get the edge sharpness tester out. We're going to see how it does there. And this was provided by you guys, so thank you for that. Super chat donations, channel memberships, what have you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. It will never not be appreciated. But the way this thing works, if you have not seen one of these before, is it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip. And the lower the number, the better. 161. That is a really good number. You know, it's not the best we've ever seen, but it's getting down there. Like, that is a low number. And it did get pushed through some cardboard. It took some cuts. And, you know, with the minimal edge wear that comes from hitting that with the very finest point of the apex while it's still new, you can see some noticeable wear. You know, the blade, the edge hasn't quite stabilized into where it's going to stay at for the longest time between, you know, using it and sharpening it. That is still a really, really good number. Like, I am suitably impressed with the edge. And like I said, I didn't give it a ton of cardboard, but I did give her some cardboard. You know, I did give her, what, 4 on the cuts that I did need to make, and some of them that I wanted to make just to test this edge out. And you can see, it did see a bit of use. So I'm really, really happy to see that. That wound up being very, very nice. And yeah, I did write stuff down for this because I had a lot of points I wanted to cover. So overall, this thing is skookumer than frig. I mean, just skookum as frig. Especially at the $35 price point. My God. Like, that is, whew. I have had so many much more expensive knives that I was very underwhelmed by. God almighty. Like I said, like, for quality and how everything feels, you know, I would put this right next to the Drop Bear. Again, very high praise. I love my Drop Bear. It's one of my favorites as far as action and carry quality and everything else. It's just so good. Oh my God, it's good. You know, and it's almost like this thing was designed with me specifically in mind. You know, somebody's just like, it's like somebody went, hey, let's do this guy's wish list on how he wants a knife to carry and feel. Dear God, like, the only things that I can really, really find wrong with this at all, like, I'd give this an 8 out of 10 for everything, is just the pocket clip. It did let it move around a little bit back and forth in the pocket just because it's not the strongest pull in the world. It's still plenty strong. It didn't back out or anything like that, but it did rock and move around a little bit. And that's also the smooth nature of the carbon fiber right here. Not the end of the world. Very, very minor gripe. You know, the weighting on the centrifugal flick could be a little bit better if it was designed to centrifugal flick, but it's not. So, I mean, there's really, really very, very tiny gripes on this thing. And again, like, we're going to find out about ergonomics tonight. We're going to do Cardboard Slayer and see how it treats my hand. But, like, I'm going to miss carrying this thing after I'm done and move on to the next one. Like, it is rare. It's a rarity that I am this blown away by something in the sub $50 range, and we've handled a lot of those. We have found some good ones, but this right here, this is the heart of the channel. All right, this is pretty much right about the mission statement of this channel. Finding cool stuff that's very, very good, sub $50, the kind of stuff guys like you and me that we can afford without having to save up for a long time or take a massive financial hit. Because, like, it takes me a long time to come up with $130, $150 for something far, you know, some of the nicer stuff that we've had on the channel. It takes a while to save up for that. You know, with you guys supporting the channel, it's still a hard decision to blow $130, $150 on something. But stuff like this, we can grab it easily enough. We can check it out. You know, if you're really, really broke, you can save up for like 2 weeks and pick one of these up easy enough. And I have been that broke before. It is a rarity that I am this thoroughly impressed. My God. Now, mind you, they sent this for me to review. They asked if I wanted to look at it, so do with that information what you will. But, you know, I have no compunction about saying something's not good at the risk of not working with them again. And, you know, like Albatross, go back and look at those videos. They sent me some bad knives to check out. I was absolutely brutal with them. If you have questions about the integrity of the way I'm looking at these things, I know Albatross is not going to work with me again, and they make stuff that I really, really like. I will be paying out of pocket for some more of their stuff, and I have paid out of pocket for more of their stuff to look at. But boy, they sent me some absolute dog's eggs. So, dear God, I'd give this an 8 out of 10. And, if they released one of these in Magna Cut at about 61 to 62 HRC for around the $100 mark, something to compete with the Ontario Rat 1.5, this thing would be absolutely duck tits bonkers. I mean, oh God, that would be so good. Tag Ray, if y'all wanna do the next evolution, the next iteration of this thing, do Magna Cut at around 61, 62 HRC. Just keep that cost where it's affordable for a lot of us. I'd love to see this at about $100 a Magna Cut. That's a pretty decent sized piece of Magna Cut, so I know the cost on that's gonna be hard to control, but I would love to see that so much. But that's everything I can think of to share with you guys on this thing. Like, I'm just blown away. Like, I love this thing. I really do. Like, if you decide to buy one of these, like, I'll link off to this in the description, so that you can go check it out and pick one up if you want. It's not an affiliate link. I'm not going to get paid for that link, but you guys will have a chance to take it out and decide whether or not you want to pick one up for yourself. Yeah, I am blown away. Like, I am now at a loss for words. Like, I had to write everything down that I said so I didn't, like, just completely trail off into being amazed by this. So, yeah, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. There's live streams, there's regular videos, there's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this thing or if you're planning on picking one up. And as always, I'm going to link out to Cutting Lace EDC's Diamond Emulsion if you want to step your stropping game up. Again, not an affiliate. I don't get paid for it. Just supporting a friend of the channel and a small business. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.